Workshop, here with an original design by Pops of a coffee pod holder. This is the first one I made. It holds 10 pods. I redesigned it a little bit, or changed the dimensions, and have designed it now to where it'll hold 12. This is the one I made yesterday for the video, and I decided to paint this and distress it, and my wife likes it better, so it's going to go in the kitchen. But anyway, I hope this video is helpful to you. It gives you an idea of something that you can create for your own personal use, or possibly to sell and make some money off of. Good morning, it's Pops and Pops&Gigis Workshop here today to talk to you about taking a simple fence picket from Home Depot. Cedar fence picket, $3.97, 6 foot long, 5/8 of an inch thick, and turning it into a coffee pod holder. So stay with me, follow along, I'll show you step by step how to make one. Okay, your cut list. You need to cut one piece, stock material, 5.5 inches wide, 15 inches long. Then you need to cut another piece for the base, 7.5 inches long. And then you need to cut a piece for the support about 6 inches long, 1.5 inches wide. That's what you initially need to cut and get started with. Okay, like every other video you've ever seen, this is rough edge material coming out of the factory. So you want to square it up, cut off the first piece, just a little shiver. And the first piece is the base piece. You're going to cut it 15 inches long. This is the part that holds the coffee pods. So take it out to 15 inches. Plus or minus a football field. There you go. That's your first piece cut. Now you need to cut the base piece, the part that holds it up, and it needs to be 7.5 inches long. So 7.5. And then the angular piece, I cut off a section about 7 inches long also. And I'll show you why I want to cut a little bit longer, 7-8 inches. And if your miter scale, if your miter saw is like most miter saws, you have a scale over here to the side, it gives you a measurement as well. So I'm going to use that as 8 inches long. And then I only need a piece about 1.5 inches long on this, or 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to mark that at the top. And cut. So now comes the first of the angular pieces we need to cut. So I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle. That's going to sit on the base. And then I'm going to cut a 30-degree angle. That's the part that'll ride against the part that holds the coffee. Because if you look at a 90-degree angle, I'm leaning back 15 degrees. So the difference between 15 degrees and 90 degrees is 75 degrees. So 30 and 45 is 75 degrees. So there's my 45-degree angle. Now I want to go about 4 inches long from tip to tip. To get my 30-degree angle. Okay? So now, there again is plus or minus a football field. Be very careful, keep your fingers out of the way. And there I've got my pieces cut, except for the 15-degree angle that rides against the base on this part. Now to do that, I'm going to have to set my miter gauge or my miter saw to 15 degrees, okay? Okay, so I set the angle to 15 degrees, and I'm going to come in here and carefully just kiss enough here to cut the angle. And then I'm done. I'm through with the cuts. Now I've got to open up the holes for the pods, and that's the step that takes the longest of the whole process. Okay, it's time to make the marks to where to cut the pods. So your stock board, like I said, is 5.5 inches wide. So the middle of 5.5 is 2 3/4, and the middle of 2 3/4 is 1 3/8. So what I'm going to do is set my square to 1 3/8 and make a mark here and here. And then I'm going to go to the other side and make a mark of 1 3/8 here and here. Then I'm going to take a straight edge and make a line, and then another straight edge to make a line. Now the next thing we need to do is place the distance for the holes. Now this is going to be a 12 pod holder, so doing the math, or I just fumbled around the math, but I'm going to make it 2 1/4 inches between slots. Okay, so I'm going to set my speed square, or my square. It's not a speed square, it's just a square, to 2 1/4 inches, and I'm going to make my first mark. And then I'm going to come up another 2 1/4 and make a mark, 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 mark. That's 6 marks I've made. Now to carry it across to the other side, now that's going to make it easy to drill the holes, to locate where to put the holes, to where it looks all pretty even. Now if you're going to do a lot of these things, I'd recommend you do a template. I made a template because I made several of these things so far, but this just lines up, clamp it together, start drilling your pilot holes, and then you can come back. Now I'm going to use a 1 5/8 hole saw. It does a pretty good job. I don't have a what do you call those things? Oh crap. The regular bit. So I'll use this. That's got me confused. Oh well. I'm going to show you how to use a hole saw to make these holes. So what I'm going to do now is take a pilot bit and go in here and start a pilot hole for each one of these. And that way when I use this bit here, it's not the sharpest bit in the world, but it'll help get it started and keep it consistent and keep it from traveling. So just do this on all 6 holes. And then we'll come back and put a new battery in this thing and cut the holes out. Like I said earlier, this is the most time-consuming thing of this whole process. So now we're just going to take the hole saw and start drilling and cut some holes. Now I'm going to stop halfway through. I'm not going to go through all 12 of these and make you sit here and watch that. But what I do is I drill through to the other side, turn it over. Of course I would do all 12 before I would turn it over, but I drill through to the other side, then I come back and drill it all the way through. Okay, the reason I turn it over and do that is so when it comes to the other side, it doesn't tear out. And then plus two, if you've ever used a hole saw, sometimes it's a pain in the butt to get these slugs out of here. So if you do it that way, you gave a little bit of meat hanging that you can grab it with your pliers, set it in reverse, and back it out. Makes it a whole lot easier than trying to sit there and poke and prod with a sponge or a nail to try to get the slug out. So I want to go ahead and do the rest of the 11, and then we'll show you how to put the final assembly on here. Now that all the coals are cut, here comes the dreaded part of most woodworkers, is the sanding and getting it smooth enough for application. Two parts you might want to pay attention to when you're sanding is the holes themselves. You know, the saw does a pretty good job clearing everything out, but it does leave some residual in there. If you don't have an oscillating saw, what I found is if you go to Harbor Freight, you can buy these little sanding discs, little kit that you can put in your drill, and you can go in there and just kind of go around, and it does a really nice job, especially on cedar. It's not a hardwood, so cedar, pine, whatever, it does a good job. Then you want to come back with your orbital sander. What I've done is take a 150 grit bit or 150 grit pad and put on here, and then just roughly go over the top. Put on your PPE, your protective mask, and your glasses. And sand it down to what you're happy with. You also want to sand down this piece and your base piece. And sometimes cedar wood cups, sometimes depending on whatever. When I put it together, I'm going to make sure the cup side is down on the ground, and this side's like that. And then there you go. But what I'm going to do now is get the glue and get the nail gun and set it up, and let's go. Okay, it's time for final assembly. Now we're going to put this puppy together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the base. This is 5.5 inches wide. This is 7.5 inches. So I'm going to make a mark 1 inch off each side here so I know how to line it up. So I'm going to come in here to 1 inch. It's not rocket science, it don't have to be exact, but it'll be close. And then I'm going to set the ledge for 1/2 inch. That's how far out front I want it to sit. And then Titebond 3 waterproof glue. I put that stuff on everything, like that commercial for the hot sauce is. It's just good stuff. It's the best stuff in the world. So remember, your angle is going to be leaning back. So I'm going to put the glue on. And spread it around with my finger. I like to spread it with my finger so I can peel it off my finger after a while. And then I'm going to line it up with the two edges and the front 1/2 inch mark at that angle. And then I'm going to take my brad nailer. I'm using 1 inch 18 gauge brad nails, and I'm going to set it with that. Came through very nicely. Now we're going to put the support piece in the back. Remember the one that had the 45 degree angle and the 30 degree. Harden the compressor. Always comes on at the most inopportune time. So then I'm going to put some glue on the support bracket. And this is a simple lineup. Put it down, put it basically in the middle, and push it till your angle is right. And then I'm going to take the brad nailer from the back side and hit it. And also up here at the top. And whenever you use a brad nailer on thin material, be sure for blowout. Be careful. Keep your eyeglasses on. Keep your protective care. And keep your fingers out of the harm's way. And then it's done. If you want to put in a couple more brad nails in the bottom to shore it up, you can, but there's really not a point to. But I will just for general purpose. And if you want to put one in the front, you can also do that. No blowout. Well, we've got it done. It probably wasn't the best featured video in the world, because trying to film one and trying to do one at the same time is hard to do, especially for a novice like me. But anyway, I hope you learned something by doing this. If not, sorry. But if you did, give me a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe to our channel, Pops&Gigis channel. We do all kinds of things. We do woodwork. She does arts and crafts upstairs. She does embroidery and various other things. But anyway, give us a thumbs up. Appreciate you. Take care. Bye-bye.